Welcome, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for coming. This is the St. Bernard Parish Real Estate Investor Meetup. I am very, very excited to have Mr. Shane Jeanfreau with us today. I want you to tell me about either your best day in real estate or your worst day in real estate. Tell us about your best or your worst day in real estate.
I don't have so many of them. So many bad days, I ain't gonna lie. The one I lost money on that comes to mind just because I'm in St. Bernard right now and it happened in St. Bernard. I'm sure all y'all know the Civic Source. It's an online auction you could buy properties from. I was working down there at the gas plant at the time, and it was on Bayou Road, and this is when you need to do your own due diligence. I was listening to a guy, I ain't gonna say his name, he's like, yeah man, they got a piece of property next to me coming up, the Civic Source coming up for sale. I'm like, all right, cool. You know, it's a good piece? Oh yeah, it's good, okay. So I go home, get the bid and stayed up, bid on it. I won the property. So there's time to go drive past it. So I went and drove by it, and I'm, you know, believing that it's a good piece next to Stacy. And drove down there and ended up, I see a big cement slab. It's a huge cement slab, looked like there was where gas pumps were, you know, and I'm like, all right, well, I work at a gas plant. I know what it takes to get these things up out the ground, and it's not fun. So I called LDEQ, called Department of Health, and they're like, oh yeah, this piece of property and this was like during Isaac, I think, when Isaac happened. He's like, yeah, actually we just did testing on it, and the tank's leaking. It's leaking diesel all on the slab, and we did testing on it and everything else. And I'm like, man, I know, I worked at the time, I know what it takes. If you drop a hydraulic on the ground, you got to write a report and everything else. So I'm like, oh my God. So I think I paid like $7,000 for that piece. I tried to get my money back bad because it was local here. You know, I tried to get it back, and I kind of just gave up on it. But more of the story is that was the worst due diligence. Like after that, I always drove by, made sure, not word of mouth from somebody saying how good of a piece it was or anything like that. Like drive by, put your hands on it, pull up, you know, GIS portal where you could see tax records on it and past dealings, you know. But yeah, as soon as it used to be Callie's Ice gas station on Bayou Road. Looking back, I probably could have sold it because I know it sold for more than that. I had a buddy that I probably would have bought it from and parked his boat on it, but I did not want the hassle of worrying about, you know, diesel still in tanks from an old gas station. Yes. So that was probably my biggest loss. I mean, it wasn't a huge loss, but you know, at the time, yeah, in 2012, that was a lot to swallow, you know. So yeah. that was pretty rough. There's so many more. I mean, as far as tenants calling and 2 o'clock in the morning, I carry you bed. So I think it's my second mobile home. First one we bought in Hattiesburg. Second one, I was looking at a park and it was in Reserve, right past Laplace. And at the time, I think I was spending pretty much everything I had on it. You know, like, hope this is a good deal. We like spent everything on it. I think I even used a little bit of a line of credit as a down payment, just have enough in my bank to say if this don't work, then you know, I got some cash. Well, we closed on it, I think when did Ida hit? 21, like August, close to like when Katrina hit, I think. Well, anyway, 3 weeks after I closed, Ida hit, and the eye hit like smoke Reserve, Laplace. I'm in Florida, like trying to find out what's going on because I literally just bought this park with almost everything I had. You know, like, you know, she was kind of like, that's my wife right there. She was like, I don't think we should do this and all this. You know, I'm like, are we doing it? You know, so. Did
you own the trailers or just the land?
So we owned some of the trailers. It was 4 acres, 30 spots, 15 RV spots, city sewer, city water. Got a phenomenal price on it. You won't get prices like that anymore, but I got a good price on it. So I jumped on it, and so, you know, I'm thinking the worst, you know, Katrina and everything. And it did. The eye hit right there. I got back probably 3 or 4 days, left him in Panama City, drove back down there just to see, you know, how bad it was. They had campers flipped over, trees laying on some people's mobile homes, and I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, electrical poles down. So only thing I knew what to do was get on the government website and apply. Hey, look, FEMA, I know that's went down to Katrina. I was too young to take advantage of what went down. So this time I got on, signed up on sam.gov and as a contractor, and did anything I could to meet up with the Corps of Engineers, and ended up being the biggest blessing of my life because, you know, they came in and took over, I think, 16 of my lots. And we got to deal with them for probably 3 or 4 years where they rented, I think, 16 of my lots. So it was a huge setback just for like a month. Like, what am I going to do? But then it ended up being like the biggest blessing of my life, how it went down, you know.
It's a perfect example that I think a lot of people see someone who's further ahead and assume it was just this linear path, right? And it never is. So take me back to the beginning. So rewind, before you got into real estate, you were just telling a story in the back there a couple minutes ago about working for, was it Shell?
Yeah. I always had a hustling spirit. So I always try to, some kind of business, you know, selling somewhere on eBay or whatever. So that was kind of just a thing, and started buying and selling trucks, Toyota Tacomas at the time while I was working at the gas plant in Toka. And me and my buddy Josh Sager, saw this thing where, you know, it was at the courthouse in New Orleans. They do a auction every other month or something. And I said, let's go to that. So a little thing, how to buy properties at the courthouse steps. So this was 2011. And me and him went there, and it was like after hours, kind of like this, went and talked, you know, told you what you need to do to get it, bring 10% down. You got 30 days to pay the remaining balance to get the sale. And so I went to that that week. The next week I went to the auction. I had no clue what I was buying, but I bought a house. I bought a house. It was on St. Anthony Street. Didn't even look at it. After I bought it, I went and drove to it. I walked on one side of it, and I think we just bought our own house. I walked one side of it. It was a double, but really it was like a single because the whole wall was rotted out. So I went to the other side, same thing. I'm like, all right, what am I gonna do? You know, so ended up getting it. Called her, hey, look, we bought a house. What you mean you bought a house? What you mean you bought a house? So I used 401k money to buy it, you know, like so. So that's the first house I've ever bought as a rental. Now, at the time I had no clue what I was doing. I called, it was Fidelity Bank at the time, which they still have Fidelity Bank, and asked them if I could get a loan to fix one side of it up. Like, can I fix one side? Like, no, you can't fix any. Like, you got to fix the whole thing out. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. Craigslist was hot at the time. You know, it was like the previous Facebook Marketplace. Craigslist was the place to get deals, you know, like, and so I put on Craigslist. I think I put it number-wise, I think I put like 22, 23,000. And they had people like, and again, I didn't know the area. Like, I didn't know this was off of St. Anthony and St. Claude, like that South 7th Ward, if they want to call it, New Marigny, whatever you want to put a label on it. I didn't know, but I bought it, and I think I paid like 14 for it. And some dude came like 4 days later and bought it from me. And I'm like, dude, there's no way. Like, that was the most money I've ever made in my life that quick. And I'm like, there's got to be more of these out here. Like, look at this place. It's 2011, before all that out-of-state money capital came in. It was just kind of still building up from Katrina, you know? So you had a lot of opportunity. So I kind of just farmed that area, that little triangle right there. And I'm kind of off topic because you asked me about my job, how I started. But
No, this is good.
that's you know. But that's where I kind of just farmed that little area right there. Got as much as I could. Going back to my job, I worked at Shell Oil. We worked 12-hour shifts. A lot of downtime, a lot of lounging around if everything's good. So I used their time to try to find deals. Like, I went on the computer, went on the tax roll, try to find who owned this property, looked up, I'm talking from Google, their name, sent them letters in the mail, any way I could, you know, to try to knock on their door. If I see somebody outside, hey, you own this? No, I know that. And it's, you know, yeah, he owns it. So I get their number, call them, like, or, you know, to the point where they're just going to sell it to me because I just kept bothering the hell out of them. So I ended up buying probably, I don't know, we had, I don't know, maybe 9, 10 properties over there in that area, you know, eventually from getting them. And then we started kind of slowly selling them. And then we started selling them and buying, went from doubles to fourplexes. Started buying, I think we bought my first fourplex in Destrehan. It was a phenomenal market because I wanted to obviously still get a 30-year mortgage and still get the most money. And with a fourplex, you can still get a regular conventional loan. You know, 2 units, paid a mortgage, 2 of the other ones, land yap, you know. So it just worked. I was always looking for multifamily because it just was safer to me. It's just safer. You got one person renting, they leave, you you're stuck with a $5,000 bill. Two people, you can still kind of swing it, you know?
Right, like I think there's a lot of prep. What's the saying? Luck is where preparation meets opportunity, right? And I think people lose sight of that sometimes. So I just wanted to pull that out of that story to say, like, it's easy to say you got lucky, but in reality, there's a lot of like effort and work and risk and cojones that went into that quote unquote luck.
Could have went 100% the other way. You know, I just happened to be in an up and coming area that I had no clue that was up and coming. And when something like that happened, it just kind of, you know, sparked like, okay, this has got to be a pretty good market to sell something that quick, you know. And I just honed in on that and got as much as I could. And then, you know, I'd get some like that needed work and I had the time to fix it. Maybe I had a little meat left on the bone, sell for a couple $1,000 to put in a rental that was solid, that I could, you know, fast money for slow money, right? So did a lot of those. Like I said, scaled up to 4plexes, and then we bought a 6plex out here in Mealy. We completely gutted it. I mean, it was disgusting. Gutted it, you know, turned it around, beautiful property.
Yeah, that's a good transformation.
So I started getting into try to get into the more multifamily. I was going to more multifamily events, you know. But then I sold, I guess, you know, going the how I bought my first park.
What was it about real estate, but specifically multifamily? Like what was the end goal? Was it, I'm going to have this much in cash flow, or I'm just going to keep flipping so I can always have a new truck? Like, what was the mindset of why did you get into real estate?
Really, it was just to have more time. You know, obviously to have more time, like just to kind of buy my time. I was trying to buy my, you know, I work at Shell. It's a great job, phenomenal. It's like winning the lottery for most people, you know. And Shell-Med, it's a Shell-Med dream. You get on at a refinery, you're set. You know, you could coast to retirement till you're 60 years old. But you had to put a lot of time in, you know. Yeah, you can make that much, but you're there all the time. You're spending 7 days a week sometimes 40 days a week on turnarounds. You don't have time for that, you know. Like, I had young kids at the time, you know, so I'm trying to wean myself. At the time, I wanted to quit, but I thought that was kind of like, how the heck am I gonna do that, you know? So I figured maybe I could just wean myself on overtime, you know, like I could just get a couple properties and I could wean back on all that overtime and I'll have more time off. I'll work every other weekend instead of putting in for 5 days this week and 7 the next. So that was kind of my goal. And it got there, you know, I'd buy a duplex and I might make 700 off of one side at the time and get a couple of those and you're good. You don't have to work overtime, you know? So that was my end goal, was to try to have more time off. It wasn't so much flipping, it was more of I wanted to buy and hold. I just flipped to get the buy and holds. I never was you know, if I got money, I'm gonna put in something that makes me money. You know, every dollar is like an employee, they say, oh, where are you gonna put it to make you most money? So that's kind of the way I looked at it. And that's what I did, you know, that's what we did.
And so coming on that decision to quit, what was that framework? When did you know it was time? Because that's what everybody sells, right? That's what the gurus pitch, like, oh, all you gotta do is buy a couple of rentals and then you can quit your job and live off of passive income forever, right? Which we know is like the biggest lie. But you actually did it to a certain extent, right? Like, what was the framework and decision making of quitting what, like you said, what most people would consider a really good job? How did you make the decision to quit then?
So when I put my 2 weeks notice in, going back, so a lot of those properties, I kind of, I guess, again, got lucky. Right before COVID hit, obviously New Orleans is all tourism driven most of the time. A lot of tourism driven industry, so a lot of people out of work. Before COVID hit, we had sold off most of our stuff. I might have 1 or 2 properties left. And we did a 1031, and it's coming to the end and I'm trying to find a spot to put the money so I don't have to pay taxes on it. Somebody sent me a mobile home park. And I'm like, I don't want that, you know, a trailer park for, you know, like just the stigma of it. Why would I want that? I've turned them down in the past. Looking back, I was an idiot. But anyway, I've turned them down in the past. And so I'm looking at the numbers on it. It's in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, 50 lots. The lady wants $450 for it. Okay, let me look at it. She owns any trailers? No. She lives on site, city water, all septics. Don't look bad, you know. The number, I'm like, she don't own any trailers. She just, like a parking lot. I mean, how can this go wrong? Like, why is nobody else buying this, you know? And it was weird because it was a wholesaler selling me a property, and I I guess, such a big property from a wholesaler with financing being needed because I needed to finance it. So I was like at the bank, the dude's like, I need $5,000 wired. You need to wire me before I give you the lady's number. And I'm like, I'm rolling the dice. I think I was on the phone with her, and I'm like, do I wire this dude? I mean, talk to him, you know? I mean, do I wire him to get the guy's money, the lady's number? So I ended up wiring it to, and he ended up being legit. Luckily, got lucky again. He was legit, you know. So I bought that property. That was a game. That was kind of like my aha, like, you know, we drove around my golf cart. She gave gift baskets for all the tenants, knocking on their doors. You know, I'm driving my golf cart around it, and like I said, the numbers were great. Like, really good. It was more than what I made from Shell a month on the numbers, you know. And I'm like, man, I got to find more of these.
Yeah.
Like I got like I was in New Orleans. Like, I need to find more of these. Like, where have these been? So I started selling them all off my fourplexes and trying to scale up. So I already had somewhat that cushion. I ain't gonna say it was paying bills and everything, but it was enough to say I'm comfortable. So when Ida hit, we had just come up from a turnaround, and Bo worked there with me. You know, we just come up from a turnaround, and that was like a 40-day turnaround, you know. And Ida hit, knocked down like 200-300 power lines in a plant. They're like, oh, all hands on deck, 20 and 2 till we come back up. I'm like, well, when are we coming back up? This is August. Oh, probably like December, January. I'm like, ain't no way. Ain't no way. This ain't happening. Plus, I just bought that trailer park in reserve I was talking about. So I had that in my mind. I got to get this place back up and running.
Oh, geez.
So I went on a just talk with her to see, you know, what her thoughts were. And I mean, I think I got shingles just thinking about quitting. Like, I'm not really going to do this. I ain't lying to you. I was stressed out, like big time. They're gone now, believe me. I'm free of them. So, but yeah, but it wasn't lightly. I actually I put my 2 weeks notice in, and like I said, I have nothing bad to say about Shell Oil. If I was ever to go back to a plant, anybody wants a plant job, Shell's a good company to work for. As far as I put it in, he's like, look, man, I know things are rocky right now. We had a hurricane. He's like, dude, look, take 3 months off. Think about it. Like, just take 3 months off. Think about your decision. Now your emotion, like 3 months. Like, you're gonna give me 3 months off? Like, that's insane. So I already knew I was quitting. Well, I'd take it anyway, you know. So I took 3 months off. You know, did all my medical stuff to make sure I was gonna die when I left the plant. And he called me back in January, and I kind of prolonged it a little more. I don't know. I might, you know. But I ended up quitting. But like I said, during that time, I was blowing up the government to try to get them to use my mobile home park to fill it up, and that solidified me. I said, I don't know how long it's going to last. I know for Katrina, they had 7-8 years people had mobile homes here, dude, making, you know, good money off the government on that. So I said, if there's a time, now's the time to do it. You know, I got one park kind of helping me pay almost all my bills and everything. And I think I still had the sixplex and different things, but I said, if I'm gonna do this, I gotta get some more of these, you know. So
Yeah.
That put my notice in. I ended, like I told y'all, I got the contract with FEMA. That was a game changer. And from there, all that money I used and got from it, I went and found more parks. You know, try to find as many as I could, and that's what I did.
And I think it's the same theme, right? Like that, where opportunity meets preparation, right? You were prepared, reinvesting money, not wasting it on frivolous stuff, right? Like reinvesting it, prepared, so that when lightning strikes, you're there holding up a pole, you know, ready to get struck by it.
Yeah, and it was, like I said, the whole like journey to get there. Believe me, it wasn't straight up. There was plenty downfalls in between. Believe me.
Let's dig into mobile home parks specifically. So, what are the biggest differences? If I'm a single-family, multifamily guy, obviously cash flow is different, you know, and it depends on if you own the trailers versus not, right? But like, what are the biggest differences? Why would somebody want to make that pivot from single-family, normal residential rentals to mobile home parks?
Mobile home parks different in every county or parish. You know, some are 2 or more, some are 3 or more. There's different ways to look at. You got park-owned homes. So you got to park somewhere, you see them. You got park-owned home, which is the landlord or the owner of the park owns those homes. Then you got tenant-owned homes, which your tenants own them. So it's tenant-owned homes. Those are the ones that, you know, You just have a land lease with them. You just lease the land out from $350 to $400 a month. You cut the grass. Park on home's a little bit more headache. You got, obviously it's like a single family rental, you know, but you got just plenty of them in one spot. And the barrier of entry is a little bit cheaper, you know, and so I think you just get more in one spot. I think there's less maintenance on that aspect because you could use, like I said, in some of the park on homes, you could use window units on some spots, whereas in a single family, you still could, but most of the time you're gonna put a central unit in it.
Yeah.
In some of the parks, you can get a different mix. You can do 50% park-owned home, 50% tenant-owned home, so your maintenance is lower. You know, so there's different ways to do it. The way I prefer to do it is have maybe a couple park-owned homes to keep the income a little higher, and have the rest tenant-owned. It's hard to scale with parks if you're all park-owned homes because there's so much maintenance. You know, there's so much maintenance to keep up with. So it's harder to scale. We have 5 parks now. It's harder to get. It would be so much harder if I had all park-owned homes in 5 parks. I wouldn't have them. I try to sell them off as quick as I can when I buy the parks, just so you really just want to have it as a tenant-owned home.
Right.
You have okay, so yeah, I get off topic. So the topic was why would you? So thank you. Why would you? Regular apartment rentals. What you get average maybe a year, 2 years of a regular apartment. Whereas a mobile home, it's an anchor. I mean, they'll stay there. I got a mobile. I was telling a guy today, I got a mobile home from 1964 in my park in Gulfport. We still get $600 a month for it.
Wow.
So it just costs. The cost to move it. I'm not saying they can't afford it, but the cost to move it, to find a place to put it, to hooking it back up, to permits, it just defeats the purpose of moving it, you know? So it's kind of like an anchor tenant. It's kind of a solid tenant from its lifetime, and if that tenant usually moves out, they sell it to somebody else. Somebody else in the park has a family, hey, I'll buy it from you. A lot of times I'll give it to them. I'll say, look, y'all can have it, fix it up, skirt it, paint it, and you got a tenant for a lot longer than you do in single family rentals, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like that. I got a buddy who's building doubles, and I told him he was crazy because he wanted to build a shed in the back of each one. I'm like, why are you wasting money building a shed? And his theory was a smaller version of what you're saying. He's like, the more space they have for storage, the more crap they're gonna get, and the longer they're gonna stay because the harder it is to move. The more stuff you got, the harder it is to move.
True.
And so
That's
same
true.
thing, the barrier for moving an entire mobile home is tremendous. So they're not gonna, it would take a lot for somebody to move, right?
It would. You have to have a spot to move it. A lot of times, if they're in the 80s, their wind zone rated probably not for the current standard of wind zones. Like this is wind zone 3. You got some homes that are 1s and 2s here. So there's no way, even if you moved it, you can't bring it nowhere. It's kind of grandfathered in still. Try to go somewhere with it, you can't have a wind zone 1 till you get north of Hattiesburg anymore. So,
wow.
So they're gonna stay there or you crush it. You know, that's the only 2 ways to do it. But normally, they'll just keep it, rent it out, you know, sell it to a family member. You know, so that's really good point on why go that route, you know.
What are some myths about mobile home parks that maybe isn't what people think?
I guess you'd say like completely passive. It's passive to an extent, you know. It's you want to essentially have it as a parking lot where I'm just a utility operator, where I just supply water, sewer, and trash. But you have a lot of stuff goes on with it. Tenants, disputes. You got, you know, that's the biggest thing. Water leaks. A lot of times you'll get water leaks if those parks aren't sub-metered, and somebody's washing their car, you get a $5,000 water bill. $5,000 easy. I think I had one 2 months ago. $5,000 water bill. Dude was washing his RV. Yeah, we don't do that here, bud. We don't wash RVs here. You know, so the expenses on the overhead. Collecting rents, anything, but collecting that many rents in one spot, and that, I ain't gonna say that type of clientele, but sometimes you have a lower clientele to try to get it from, so, of it. And then, you know, majority of parks nowadays, you're probably $350 to, I've seen some $550 lot rents.
Wow.
That's pretty affordable.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's affordable. And if I'm paying your water and your trash and your sewer, and you're only paying $550 a month, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, that's, you know, expensive everything is these days, you know, so that's another reason I'd probably, you know, put on point of why try to get into mobile home parks.
Yeah. another reason why vacancy is probably so low, right? Because if you're close to the bottom of affordability, there's nowhere. So, like somebody might leave a 3-bedroom and drop down to a 2-bedroom, but like it's hard to beat $400 in lot
rent.
Yeah.
And we pay most of utilities.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean it's tough. So it's affordable too.
Yeah.
You know.
Nice. Let's see. What does a good deal look like when you're looking at a mobile home park? How do you know? Because I see them every now and then, right? Like deals will come through the email from wholesalers or brokers, whatever, and admittedly I'm clueless. So like, what does a good deal look like on a mobile home park? Is there the equivalent of like the 1% rule that people use for single families? Is it like a rule of thumb, or do you just have to get into an Excel sheet to figure it out?
All the big hedge funds and lawyers and groups are just hounding to buy them. I mean, it's insane. Insurance companies are just buying these things up. I get letters I'm sure everybody, if you got a property, hey, I want to buy your property, but we get them once or twice a week from different capital companies looking to buy them. But as far as a good park, a unicorn, I guess you want to call it, it'd be, if I was just to like vet one and go through it, it'd have all city sewer, city water, sub-metered, obviously, water bills, 90% tenant-owned homes. I want 90% tenant-owned homes, and zoned to continue to be a mobile home park. That'd be like the unicorn, you know, because I have parks that have all type of the utility situations. I have septic tanks for sewer. I have treatment plants for sewer. I don't have an oxidation pond. I'd probably stay away from the oxidation pond. And I have some with city sewer and city water. And by far, if you could sub-meter the utilities, it brings them expenses way down, you know. So, yeah, the unicorn these days is paved streets, cement, blacktop, whatever, sub-meter utilities, and majority tenant-owned homes. That's like,
even if that unicorn popped up, how would you know what the right offer is?
Just from getting appraisals, I guess you would. From the appraisals I get from refinancing or putting lines of credit, you have to get appraisals. So I know right now, usually appraisals go per pad.
Okay.
Like it usually appraisal per pad. If it's cement pad, you get a little bit more. If it's rocks, you get, you know, so it kind of goes like that. But a good rule of thumb's probably 20 to 30,000 per pad. That's where I usually try to come in at. And that's city sewer, city water. You know, when you get to the utility situation, you can bring it down a little bit, you know. But in Slidell, I've seen them go higher than that. You know, I've seen pay stupid money for parks right now that was, you know, had swimming pools, clubhouses in them, like a real community, really nice curb street. I mean, it was really nice. And I think it went for like 50,000 a pad. There was 84 pads in there.
And you think they're cash flowing?
I don't know about that one. I had to be close because I have a buddy of mine who owns 14 parks, and he looked at it hard for the asking price, and it would be almost just an ego for him to want to buy it because he owns almost all of them in St. Tammany. That would have been like a stretch for him. He'd just buy it just to say he has all of them in St. Tammany. These guys, I guess it was a group of lawyers who bought it. Maybe it made sense for them in the long run, you know. Right now I'm seeing a lot of people overpay for stuff, but I think eventually, if you overpay for it, it's going to eventually be worth what it is. Look at us, how everything's skyrocketing in prices, you know. So, I'm off subject, but I've lost a deal here recently in Nicholson, in Picayune. I was after it for probably 7 or 8 years, and the guy, I went back and forth on a price, and I bailed on it for like, I think it was maybe 200. We were off like 200,000, and you know, the same guy I talked about who didn't buy that one said, man, look, overpay for it because in 5-6 years it's going to be worth more anyway. You're going to increase the value on the rents. You know, you're going to do this to make it nicer. So if you got to pay a little bit more now, do it.
Yeah.
You know.
And to that point, remind me, don't let me forget. I have 2 branch off questions I don't want to forget. One is why don't people just develop it from raw land, right? But I don't want to go to that one yet. I just don't want to forget it. But my other question is it to that point of just overpay for it, is it an oversaturated space? Like for you might be able to still maneuver and make deals you know enough, right? For somebody coming in new, again, it's I feel like a very trendy asset class. Has all the juice been squeezed out of that lemon? Are we in the 2022 of Airbnb type time frame? You know what I mean? Is it worth diving in?
I think all the deals right now are diamonds in the rough. I think all the ones right now you have to do that sweat equity to get them. Like we look at them in Poplarville, we look at another one in Hattiesburg, and it's like, do I want to take this on? Because it is a huge project to turn a mobile home park around. It's not easy. We got one in Gulfport right now. It was 36 pads. We went and demoed 16 and went and bought some machines, demoed 16 homes.
Wow.
Brought in 8, turned those around. We just stuck another brand new one in there yesterday to try to get around. It's a lot. Permits, going back and forth to the zoning office. It's not easy. So people are overpaying for stuff that's already kind of turnkey where they could maybe raise rents $20 a year. You know, it's already filled, it's already zoned, you know, so they're gonna overpay for it because they know they got a little bit more, like you said, juice left just by raising a little bit of rent.
Right.
But I think all the actual deals right now that you're gonna find, you gotta put a lot of sweat equity into them, a lot of capital, you know, a lot.
Yeah.
And it just takes time. It's such a process, you know. I've had a couple partners, might be a little easier, but with me, her, it takes time.
Yeah.
And the government don't let you do it very speedy, you know, because I'd have them all filled up quick, but they want to check everything, you know, so to get out the way, I'd have it filled.
And the complexity, I'm sure, too, right? Because just buying one turnkey, you could probably figure that out. But you would, I imagine, need to be a blue belt or a black belt to take on a park like that, where somebody's starting off, it probably wouldn't be very wise to dive in where I'm having to demolish trailers and do all this, and because that's advanced.
Yeah, I wouldn't. First park, unless your partner is keen on construction, has the equipment, has the know-how, and the other guys maybe got the capital, it could work out. But I wouldn't jump into something like that. You give up pretty quick. You know, it's stressful, it's frustrating, believe me. You know, because you're dealing with the city, and they don't want the mobile home parks anymore because they don't make any tax dollars off of them. If I was to say, hey, look, I got a 49 pad park, I got a 25 unit spot in Slidell right next to a beautiful subdivision, probably $800,000 homes. They probably hate me. We went in there and cleaned it all up. It's really nice now, but I'm not zoned for a mobile home park anymore. I'm just residential. So if I lose a meter on one of those, I'll never get it back. But if I was to go and tell them, look, I want to build a 25 unit condo complex or whatever, they'd be all for it. They'd probably give me the zone in a heartbeat because it, you know, costs, I mean, mobile home tax is what, $40 a year?
Yeah.
You know, they got kids. Those kids probably cost $8,000 on a government to pay for them to go to the public schools. So they're not making any money off of a mobile home park. They're not going to give you that zoning, you know, so.
It's funny you say that. I posted on Facebook yesterday, like, hey, what questions would you ask somebody who's an expert in mobile homes? And I got a text message. They didn't put it in the comments, but I got a text message. Something along the lines of like, you know, they take a disproportionate share, right? Like, again, the kids go to school, using infrastructure, very little taxes. I'm like, I don't know if that's a good question for this guy. It's probably a good question for like city council, but it's funny
true.
You bring that up though. Yeah.
It's true. They probably zone you for anything besides a mobile home park, you know? I mean, honestly, $30, $40 a year on some of these tax bills from homes in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, so they just don't make any money off of them. But it's just really hard. I mean, like I said, I know every park from here to probably Baton Rouge. I know all of them here. I know everybody. You know, been trying to buy them for years, but it's just hard to find a good deal right now. It really is. And most of them are the ones you got to put all that capital and work and stuff into.
Yeah.
You know.
Nobody wants to let go to Golden Goose.
No, nobody does. You know, nobody wants to part with them, dude. Really, it's tough. They have to leave with their kids or family members, and that's never a good thing, you know, because I don't know, you know, it's family. Sometimes they get along and want to sell it. So
yeah,
I feel it more often.
Why don't if costs are going up, right, and it's becoming prohibitive, and I have a suspicion I know the answer, but I'm curious your thoughts. Why doesn't somebody just go buy a huge tract of land down the road and do a brand new mobile home park?
Yeah, that's the number one. I'm just gonna go build one. All right.
Right.
Okay. You ever looked at what you got to do to build one? You know what the cost of it is? You know, you might be able to put 10 an acre now. I don't even know if it's that many. I can't remember down here, but I know in Purvis County, they even got a moratorium. And Purvis County's easy to deal with. There's a moratorium on parks right now. So, but To build one now, you have to put paved streets, concrete, you got to run your fire hydrant to the back, you got to have engineering plans. I mean, if anybody's done construction, you know what all that costs. And you may, if you're lucky, get 10 per acre. And at that point, it overrides the point of doing it, you know, unless you're renting them out for $2,000 a month, you know, it's just not going to happen. And I know down here it'd probably be tough too. I know a few people who tried down here and it just wasn't happening for them. But yeah, the cost to build it is just, that's why parks are so expensive, because the zoning is so golden. I mean, you're within 15 feet from another mobile home, you know, so I don't want to pay that much for it, but you're paying for the zoning. That's why they're so expensive, because they're dinosaurs. You'll never get them back. You know, you'll never be able to replicate it. You know, that's my opinion.
Yeah.
You don't want it.
No, that's true. Yeah, it probably does pump the value way up because people can't.
You can't replicate that.
Yeah.
You know, to put that many in one spot that close together, and do it plenty of times over. Yeah. You know.
Good old
Unfortunately,
days.
yeah, the good old days. I mean, they got them all on the river. It's like from here to St. Charles Parish, you got plenty of them, man. It just lets you build whatever, you know, and so.
Yeah. How's financing work for mobile home? Let's say I find the unicorn, the numbers work, it's a good deal, but I don't have $1.5 million. Are there banks that finance these types of deals?
Yeah, plenty of banks will, I see, are more, I guess, prone to do it now when they see the numbers on them. You know, I use local banks here. I use Bank Plus. They're phenomenal with financing. Terms right now with them, every bank's different. I know they got Gulf Coast down here. I've used them before too. I just don't use them because they don't amortize past 15 years. Maybe they do now, but it was doing like 15-year AMs on commercial. You can get commercial loans on them, 20, 25% down, fixed at 5 years. As long as the numbers work. I know that some people are doing DSCR loans. I've never really delved into that. But all my parks are bought with just commercial loans. Putting 20, 25% down, fixing them at 5 years, and most of mine are 20-year amortization, which is pretty good. And that's what the banks are trying to go for, you know.
You mentioned DSCR. There's products out right now. DSCR loans that'll use Airbnb hypothetical income. So they'll use like AirDNA to like calculate what it could or should make, and they'll use that to do finance. I'm like, that's the most 2008 thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Yeah, but it's a real thing. It's crazy.
I've seen AirDNA, like it kind of tells you what everybody's making, like a and they just go off of that. Yeah, and give you a loan off of that.
It's crazy, man.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah,
that's looking for trouble.
Yeah,
I've never delved into it. I just, like I said, banks are more prone to do it now. You know, I think it's more of a, guess they're seeing the numbers. It's not that stigma anymore. It's a good asset class, you know, so.
For sure.
You know.
One theme that I've seen in these conversations, doing this for probably 2 years now, is when people see someone who's successful, right? I think naturally they assume, or someone who's ahead of where they are, they assume that it was just this straight upward line, right, of success from here to there, and that's never the case. And so like one of the themes that comes up in these conversations over and over and over again, most notably with Richie Lewis with Gerald's Donuts, right, he talks about just like hitting rock bottom and failing over and over and over again, just getting his face pounded in, right? Like, so I'm curious if you're willing to share, like, what are some times that somebody might be able to relate to where things weren't going according to plan, or you felt like things might not work out, or like, you know, we hear people say, hey, I didn't know how I was going to pay the mortgage that month. Like, would you mind pulling the curtain back and telling us about a time where things weren't so great?
I recently just bought a mobile home dealership, so I have a dealership as well. I sell brand new mobile homes to add on to the chaos of owning 5 mobile home parks and everything else. You know, I thought that'd be a good idea. That's probably the hardest thing I've ever done was selling mobile homes. I know it's not real estate related, but just dealing with the public, that is hard. Trying to, you know, make people 100% happy. It's changed who I am as a person. I'm usually a very laid back, chilled person. And that has forced me to get in my shell and confront a lot of problems, with contractors, with myself, with unhappy people face to face, and I don't like it still, but I do it. But I think to get better, you got to do it, It's uncomfortable. It's still somewhat uncomfortable for me sometimes dealing with the issues we come across. But yeah, I don't know if that's all answered anything, but that's about, as far as like trying to.
Yeah. And I think that's the exact trend that we were talking about earlier, right? Where like you look at that first wholesale or flip deal where it was lucky, right? But people don't see the risks and the actions. I think this is the action. So 5 years from now, when this business is tremendously successful and people are like, oh, must be nice, how lucky he's got this successful dealership,
exactly.
right? They're not going to see those conversations and what you're going through right now. And so I think that's also exactly part of that same trend we're seeing where like it takes that to get to them. Must be nice.
It takes a lot. There's a lot of wasted time on the way, even when I was working. You get these this kind of off topic, but hey, I want to rent this place. Okay, we'll meet up in Kenner at the fourplex. Be there for 4. 6 o'clock, you still ain't here. I mean, that is, like I wasted so much time. It's things you don't think about. There's so much time involved with real estate to get to where I am. I mean, I think I was 24, 25 where I was at. I'm still not, where I want to be, but so much time has been put in, and I was just stupidly obsessed with what I wanted. And I guess that's kind of how you gotta be if you want that. You gotta kind of be obsessed with it, and it's the truth. She could probably tell you it's sickening sometimes how my brain just keeps turning and wanting to do this or do that. Build a subdivision. It's like it kind of goes everywhere. But you gotta kind of have that to be where you want to be. So
that's good. That's good advice. Reminds me, he has a book, but there's like podcasts that talk about it. Arnold Schwarzenegger used, I think, that same term. Like, what did you say? Stupid obsessed. Yeah.
Stupidly obsessed.
Like,
yeah.
The level of like everybody thinks I'm a fool because I am so obsessed and dialed in and like but I agree. I think that's what it takes.
Almost to a fault sometimes. I think it needs to turn off a little more sometimes and enjoy.
Yeah.
Stuff, so just being honest.
Tough balance.
Yeah, it's a hard balance.
So as we again land the plane, one last question. Do you have any controversial takes on real estate or unconventional wisdom or even just anything you want to leave everybody with? Like if you remember nothing from this conversation.
Be persistent, I guess. I mean, people say it all the time, be persistent. It's the truth. You just got to be persistent. If you want it, you just got to do the same thing all the time, the same way, all the time. If you want it, you just got to be persistent. I've been persistent on what I wanted. I knew what I wanted. I got her, so I was persistent with her. that was my start. That's how I knew I could get it. So I got her, persistent with it, and then from there, just anything I want, I just was persistent at it. And everything. I mean, it comes to jobs. I mean, when I work at a refinery, I probably applied to 100 places, and I would just apply and never get on. But you still got to do it. You still keep applying, and eventually you throw 100 of them out there, you get 1 or 2, and I got the job. So it's anything. Anybody can do this. It's how much headache you want, how much risk you want to take, and how persistent you're going to be. You just got to be persistent. That word just sticks with me. If I leave you with anything, is being persistent. You see a property you want, you see anything, just hound the people for it. That's it. I mean, it's simple.
Be hard to say no to.
That's it. Be hard to say. Be like a fly at a barbecue. Don't go away. Just be on them. Anything you want to do, just be persistent at it and get as much information as you can on it and make that, I guess, calculated risk to see if it's going to work out or not. But anybody can do it. So, and I'm testament that it can be done, promise you.
It's perfect, man. Perfect way to close. Y'all give it up for Shane.